There is a woman in the Bible who did something no one else had ever done before her. Not Abraham, not Noah, not Moses. This woman, alone, abandoned, pregnant and dying of thirst in a desert, became the first person in all of Scripture to give God a personal name. She did not receive a name from God. She gave one to him. And that name has echoed through the biblical text ever since. Her name was Hagar. She was Egyptian. She was African. She was a slave. And her story is one of the most raw, human, and theologically powerful moments in the entire Bible. Most people rush past it. Today, we slow down and read every word.
Welcome back to Forgotten Tribes and Scrolls. Today, we open the scroll on Hagar, a woman whose story gets a few chapters in Genesis and then gets largely forgotten in the broader conversation about the patriarchs. But when you slow down and look carefully at what the text is actually saying, you find a story about Genesis chapter 16. Abram and Sarai are in Egypt. They have been promised a child by God. But years have passed and Sarai has not conceived. So Sarai does what was culturally acceptable in the ancient Near East. She gives her Egyptian slave woman to Abram as a secondary wife to bear a child on her behalf. That woman is Hagar. The text tells us she is Egyptian, which means she is African. She has no say in this arrangement. She is not consulted, she is not asked, she is given. And when she conceives and begins to look on her mistress with contempt, the household dynamic fractures. Sarah deals with her harshly, and Hagar runs. She flees into the desert alone, pregnant, frightened, with nowhere to go and no one coming for her.
Here is where the story shifts completely. Genesis chapter 16 verse 7. The angel of the Lord found her by a spring of water in the wilderness. Found her. The language is deliberate. God did not wait for Hagar to pray. God did not wait for her to seek him out. While she was running away, God went looking for her. The angel asks her two questions. Where have you come from and where are you going? She answers the first question honestly. I am fleeing from my mistress Sarai. But she has no answer for the second. She does not know where she's going because she has no destination. She's just running away from pain. The angel gives her instructions. Return to Sarai. And then comes a promise so significant it mirrors the promises God made to Abraham himself. I will increase your descendants so much that they will be too numerous to count. God is speaking covenant language to an Egyptian slave woman alone in the desert. The same language he used with the father of Israel. He then tells her she is pregnant with a son and she should name him Ishmael, which means God hears, because God has heard her misery.
Now we arrive at the moment that makes this story unlike any other in Scripture. Genesis chapter 16 verse 13. After the angel speaks to her, Hagar does something extraordinary. She gives God a name. She calls him El-Roi. In Hebrew, it means the God who sees me. She then says something that is one of the most profound statements in all of Genesis. She says, have I truly seen the one who sees me? This is a woman processing a divine encounter in real time. She is overwhelmed not just that God appeared, but that God saw her, an Egyptian slave woman, running away, forgotten by the household that used her. And God saw her, specifically, personally, by name. The place where this happened was named El-Roi, the well of the living one who sees me. That well is referenced again later in Genesis. The location was remembered. The encounter was recorded because what happened there mattered. Genesis chapter 21. Years have passed. Sarah has now miraculously conceived and given birth to Isaac.
And at the feast, celebrating Isaac's weaning, something happens between Ishmael and Isaac. The text does not give us full details, but Sarah sees it, and she demands that Abraham drive out Hagar and Ishmael. Drive them out, not send them away with provisions and honor. Drive them out. Abraham is distressed, but God tells him to listen to Sarah. And the next morning, Abraham gives Hagar some food and a skin of water and sends her away with the child into the desert of Beersheba. The water runs out. Ishmael is dying of thirst, and Hagar does something that breaks your heart. She places her child under a bush, and she walks about a bow shot away and sits down, because she says, "I cannot watch the boy die." She lifts up her voice and weeps. And then God moves again. Genesis 21 verse 17. God heard the boy crying, and the angel of God called to Hagar from heaven. He said, "What is the matter, Hagar? Do not be afraid. God has heard the boy crying where he is lying. Get up, lift the boy up and take him by the hand, for I will make him into a great nation." Then God opened her eyes, and she saw a well of water. She went and filled the skin with water and gave the boy a drink. Two things in that passage deserve to sit with you. First, God heard the boy. The name Ishmael means God hears, and at the moment of his greatest crisis, God heard him. The name was prophetic. Second, God opened her eyes. The well was already there. She just could not see it. Sometimes what we need is not a new provision. It is new eyes to see what God has already placed in front of us. Hagar and Ishmael survived. Ishmael grew up in the desert of Paran. He became an archer. He had 12 sons who became 12 tribal rulers. An entire nation came from that moment under a bush in the desert.
Hagar was not a supporting character in someone else's story. She was a woman with her own story, her own encounter, her own name for God. She was the first person in Scripture to receive an angelic visitation, the first person to give God a personal name, the first woman to receive a covenant-style promise in the biblical text. She was Egyptian. She was African. She was a slave. And God saw her twice in the desert when no one else did. El-Roi, the God who sees me. He saw Hagar. He still sees the people everyone else has stopped looking at.
This episode moved you. Share it with someone who needs to hear it. Subscribe to Forgotten Tribes and Scrolls. Next episode, we go into Asenath, the Egyptian woman Joseph married, the mother of 2 of the 12 tribes of Israel, and the African bloodline running through the very heart of the people of God. See you there.